Leafs legend.
Which Leafs legend are we going to have on the podcast today?
Oh, it's so great. I'm so glad to be in the presence of Leafs legend Jimmy Vesey.
Surprise!
Whose game was
since the last time you saw me.
Whose game was once described as vanilla by Sheldon Keefe. And then included in a docu-series that was streamed on Prime Video.
Yeah, I'm here to do like my little big interview back. I'm actually Sheldon Keefe. I'm in your walls. Fuck you, bitch. You know what was vanilla? Your coaching. So
I guess we can't include this unless you want that to be your one F-bomb in the episode.
No!
We can cut here.
Can we just bleep it?
We gotta keep that PG-13 rating. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. I'm your host, Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Marcie.
Hello.
Leafs are, would we say back?
I think we're back.
We're back. Maybe. At least Samsonov is back. And we'll talk about Samsonov's start against the Kraken a little bit later, but we're going to talk about the game against the Flames. Can we give Martin Jones a rest, please?
Please. The man is tired.
It was very obvious in the game against Edmonton. It was very obvious in the game against Calgary. It was very obvious in the game against the Canucks. I think it's time to give him a rest. It'll be very interesting. When we talk about Samsonov in a little bit, I also want to talk about, what the Leafs could do in a couple weeks when Joseph Woll comes back. But, also Austin Matthews hat trick, because he's actually crazy.
He's not real. And I say that all the time.
We say that all the time. I tweeted this out, when the game, because his hat trick tied up the game in this game. I believe so, right? Or was it another game? There was a game, and I was like, oh, he tied the game up. And he tied the game up in his multi-goal. Yes, it was actually this game, now that I think about it. I'm remembering things. I really should write things more down during the games instead of just leaving it all afterwards, but I digress. He is now tied with Daryl Sittler in most franchise, multi-goal games in franchise history with 71. Craziness. And this is where we have this conversation. I feel like we have this conversation once a week. Hey guys, realize this Toronto team, despite their postseason missteps, call them that, are really, really fun to watch right now because you're watching some prime franchise players play some of their best hockey right now. They're breaking records almost every night for guys.
I was sat last night and I was just another record. It seems it's literally every single night that I'm tweeting out some new milestone, some new record, and it's this is not normal.
No, it's not normal. And it's so fun to watch. People, say what you will about the coaching, say what you will about the goaltending, defense, whatever. But, also, remember that this is, enjoy it. Enjoy, think about when it was, really, really miserable to watch, for those who are longtime Leafs fans. Think about when it was really, really miserable. But, think about when this, for longer time Leaf fans, think about when this team was really, really bad. Really bad. Bottom of the league bad. And it was, and sure, you had a couple guys that were fun to watch, but it was, not in the way of you're watching them break franchise records every night. That's what we get to do now. And the team also is good. And the Leafs are good again. And we're watching them break records of players who, you know, who are, you know, that like classic old Leafs that like my dad talks about. Right? Like the Sittlers, well, he wasn't talking about George Armstrong, but Frank Mahovlich is like, you know, those guys where it's like, those are like classic Leafs.
Yeah. And it's like, I think a lot of people forget that it's like, everyone talks, you've got like the classic Leafs, the older like generation. Like, we are witnessing the next lot of like classic Leafs. So it's like,
oh yeah,
yes, it's annoying when we keep losing and giving up our leads, but we're also watching like some incredible players who are gonna like. It's a big thing. Like why? Like I get being annoyed about it, but also just enjoy it, make the most of it, because as much as I hate to say it, it is gonna get miserable again. Many times.
Yeah, exactly. And so like you want to have the ability to be like, remember the days of Matthews, and like, not to quote The Office here, but like they say like it said, you know, how do you know you're in the good old days until the good old days are already gone? Like, you know, that we're gonna look back and we're gonna be like, can't believe we were so hard on this team, this era of Leafs hockey, when they were so good.
Yeah, and it's like, what, 30, 40 years from now, you know, I'll be sat talking to my grandkids, being like, they'll be like, oh, Grandma, who was your favourite hockey player? Like, who were the legends of your era? And I'll be like, well, kids, have you heard of the absolute heroics, the beauty, the incredible play of Leafs legend Justin Hall?
No, if you
And they'll sit and they'll be like, no, Grandma, we haven't. So then I'll go onto YouTube and I'll pull up the highlights. I'll pull up his little throws. And there'll
you'll pull
be
up the Justin Hall lowlights compilation.
highlights. Thank you. And they'll sit and they'll watch in awe and they'll be like, why do we not have this now? I'll be like, because there will only ever be one Justin Hall.
Okay. All honesty, also, you will mention Austin Matthews and like his 60-goal season. The fact that he could break 70 this year too. He's projected to reach 71, which is crazy.
Really,
which is craziness. And I know projection doesn't actually mean anything, but you have to enjoy it. Also, shout out to Leafs video coaches, Jordan Bean and Sam Kim. There was an amazing article in The Athletic on both of them post the game in Calgary, talking just sort of about how they've made it to being part of probably one of the best video review teams in the in the National Hockey League. They caught a hand pass, which, you know, in the broadcast who has every angle on like these giant TV screens in front, don't even catch it, and you catch it on a tiny little iPad. Incredible. And, you know, congrats to them, and really, honestly, probably saved the Leafs the game, because you can think about the way the momentum would have shifted towards the Flames' favor, and the game was tied. You know, it could have just been another Leafs loss where, you know, they had a chance to win it and then they blew it in the third. You know, they still had that opportunity to make a pretty good game out of it, and they did. And, you know, they went on to win the game. The Leafs did. So, TJ Brody still doesn't look great. Still getting top minute pair. I feel like I can't say it anymore.
No, it's a daily occurrence at this point. Every time we see the lines and he's just still up there, and we're like, have you considered just moving him down?
He played, I can't remember exactly what game it was, but he played 24 minutes one night. He was like top top minute. Like, he was, for a defenseman, he was playing the most minutes that game for the Leafs.
That's just... That's also just where I have major beef with Sheldon Keefe.
There you go. It was this game. It was this game against Calgary. Played 24 minutes.
And it's just...
And, like...
When Keefe said that, I can't remember what it was.
It was the Liljegren comments. It was,
yeah,
I was just about to bring this up because I was going to say, I was like, okay, this game against Calgary was probably his first bad game in a while, right? And Sheldon Keefe had some pretty flaming comments on him that didn't sound great that I have pulled up right here. But I did want to say, like, for TJ Brody, like, I get, like, he's had a lot of personal stuff happen off ice for him during the off season this year, during the summer. And so perhaps maybe that could be impacting his game and how he's playing this season. But also at the same time, like, is Sheldon Keefe not moving him so that he has Morgan Rielly as support on the ice for him? So Morgan Rielly can sort of carry the pair, with the two of them? Or is it so that, it's not to change too much? You kind of want to, like, at least an explanation as to why he's keeping, TJ Brody up there when Timothy Liljegren really has been playing pretty well. All things, coming back from injury, minus one bad game, which, like, every guy, I feel like, in the past couple of weeks have had one bad game. But, yeah, these comments from Keefe on Liljegren, this is via Mark Masters on Twitter, a guy we talk about daily in terms of needing and wanting more out of. We got to help him through it. We need Lily to skate, move pucks well, and get pucks to net. Defend the rush well, and I don't think he's done that to the level that we have expect or have seen. Are we?
Are we watching this, like, in the nicest way possible? I don't mean to, like, throw people under the bus here, but how are you going to criticize Liljegren for having one bad game when he's played... he's been the best player on the ice in multiple games recently? How are you gonna, like, say those things about him and then, like, punish him by not giving the time he deserves on the ice? How are you gonna...
I just want to know if, like, we're watching the same hockey games as Sheldon Keefe or not. Like, are we?
Yeah. Like, you can't... Wait, did it cut out before I said the stuff about Gio?
No, you didn't talk about it. Didn't cut out before you said. And I'm assuming you probably said, when his line mate is Gio, like.
Yeah,
it's hard to look good.
Yeah, it's hard to look good, and then it's also just like, how are you gonna say that and then, like, you praise Gio and you keep playing him, and you don't scratch him when he has had some not so brilliant games as of late.
Some pretty bad games as of late.
It's been rough.
It's like when Lageson's right there, you're not playing him when really you could, and
you should.
I will say it's good to finally snap the losing streak for the Leafs. I think for that one, they sort of needed to get out of that so that they could win a game, and they did, which is good. I'm still loving the McKay-Benoit pairing on the blue line. That shutdown physicality it's really fun to watch, actually.
It is.
Like, when those two are on the ice, it's really fun to watch. I guess we could talk about Canucks as well. Jones starts, North Vancouver native. Awful game for him. Awful game.
It was bad.
It was a bad start for the Leafs in general, as they were quickly down 3-0. But Nylander then just put the team on his back.
Yeah, he just went, you know what? Maybe it's time. I start playing, like...
Scored his 199th.
$11.5 million.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Scored his 199th and 200th career NHL goals. So, again, career milestones. It's like every night is a career milestone or a franchise record or something that comes up for these guys. So, Leafs come back to tie it 4-4 somehow. And then the third period, shit hits the fan, and they just fall apart.
Yeah, a typical.
Now, penalties didn't help. There was a whole lot of penalties getting called where you're like, okay, yeah, sure, that's a penalty, but will you call it every time? And the answer is no. There's a couple of those cross checks that I feel like we'll see them come back in the playoffs and be called, have them not be called.
Yeah.
And it's Leafs on the receiving end of those cross checks, and we're like, what is going on? And they're like, it's not a penalty. And I'm like, yeah, but you said it was 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Like,
yeah.
But yeah.
There's just another thing. Just consistency, please.
Oh, that's all we want is some consistency from this.
We don't ask for much. And also, of course, because it's the Leafs, Leafs legend and dearly beloved Eggman, Sam Laffey, with an assist.
Got a point.
Because of course.
Because of course.
Of course.
I think it's really just, honestly, I was surprised he didn't score a goal, and I'm also surprised Ilya Mikheyev, also another Leafs legend, didn't score.
And I mean, I'm kind of like, I understand now why he lost the hair. Just aerodynamic. Like
under the hair,
like before
under
the hair
helmet. Aerodynamic under the helmet.
The hair was holding him back. It's all under the helmet. It's a lot of complicated physics that I think a lot of people will understand, so I won't get into it. But the hair was holding him back. He's free now. He's flying.
All right, Leafs and Kraken though. Last night's game. That I actually may or may not have accidentally fallen asleep during second intermission and woke up when the game was over.
I was gonna say you were very quiet.
Yeah, I had skied all day. I had a really early morning yesterday. I skied all day yesterday and then went for dinner at my boyfriend's parents' house. So it was a long day for me. And then I come back and the game and I'm like, I'll watch it in bed and I'll sit there. And I was like, you know what? I'll just, close my eyes and I'll listen to the second intermission panel. And
that was your first mistake.
That was my first mistake. And I was asleep pretty quickly. So I slept through the third, unfortunately. But I can tell you, because I did go back and watch the highlights, so I feel like it's fine. Samsonov gets the start. Giordano and McMahon out with Timmins and Robertson swapping in for them. Austin Matthews, sexiest goal of the season so far.
Incredible.
With a little between the legs, 5-hole. Oh,
it was so good.
So good. So good. Also to note as well, Matthew Knives back on the top line with Matthew and Marner. He has made his way back up there, and I think he will reap the benefits if he learns that he just has to sometimes sit there, be physical along the boards, and look pretty, and the points will come to him.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens when you're on a line with those two. You can talk to Zach Hyman. You can talk to Michael Bunting. You could even probably talk to Alex Kerfoot. And they will all tell you the same thing. Because remember that fun little era where Alex Kerfoot was a top line left wing? Because I do. I remember that.
What a time to be alive.
Was that the place for him? Absolutely not. He is a very solid third line guy who will give you 82 games of dependable third line hockey. Should not be on your top line unless in a break in case of emergency scenario. But that's just on Sheldon Keefe not knowing how to, put together a lineup. But, he also has his guys. Also, as well, I have in all caps. This is why you should play Robertson, Sheldon.
Yep.
Because guess who scores? Nicholas Robertson.
What a goal
in last 6 games.
Because look at that.
Also, because I'm just gonna pull it up as well, because just to show that he really is making a mountain out of a molehill, which is not the right use of that saying, but he is really doing a lot with very little. in terms of what he's being given by Sheldon Keefe in terms of, you know, his playing time.
Yeah.
His average time on ice this season is 10:41. He's getting just over 10 minutes of ice time a night, and he's already hit a career high in goals with 7. He has the same number of goals as Tyler Bertuzzi.
Hey Sheldon, maybe you should reward good playing and not scratch him.
Yeah. 13 points. Like, he's arguably, some could say, he's your best left winger on the Leafs right now.
I wouldn't disagree. I would.
But yeah, like, first time back in the lineup since the Detroit game, which is probably his one bad game as of late for him. And he's just not getting used. And I get, you know, you probably have a lot of room there, and people are saying, you know, maybe he could be a possibility for the Leafs to look at trading him this season at the deadline. But also you have to think about, like, his cap hit, and, you know, because the Leafs are going to be in the 7th circle of cap hell next year with the fact that they will be having Austin Matthews at $13 million. William Nylander will be going up to 11.5. John Tavares is still at 11 for one more year. Marner is still at 10.9 for one more year. And you still also are carrying, you still also are going to be carrying David Kampf at 2.4 for 3 more years? Jesus, what are we doing, Brad? Actually, I think it was and so you're going to need guys like, well, Nicholas Robertson, who's an RFA next year, that is going to allow you to sort of keep your costs low. Like, guys on contracts like that, like Nicholas Robertson, like Matthew Nyes, like Pontus Holmberg, are like Joseph Wool, you know, are going to be your way to save money. You know, same when it comes to Fraser Minton and Easton Cohen and, like, all these guys who you have under some pretty cheap entry-level contracts who are going to allow you to keep your numbers in terms of just, you know, your costs and things like that low to allow you to fit under the cap. Because, the cap is going up. But when you're paying, just doing some quick math off the top of my head right here, when you're paying 4 guys and on your roster a combined $45 million. That's quick, rough estimate math that I'm doing just really quickly in my head. I think it's probably going to be closer to probably like $46-47 million. That's not including the 7.5 you're going to be paying Morgan Riley, which, by the way, is a disc. Morgan Riley is a discount at 7.5.
Yeah.
So you're going to be like, and let me just name some guys who are restricted free agents or for the Leafs next year, just to see, like, these are the guys they sort of are going to have to go. Nicholas Robertson's an RFA. Noah Gregor's an RFA. Timothy Liljegren's an RFA. Simon Benoit's an RFA. Now here, let me read out our UFAs for next year, for next season. Who's a UFA? Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi, Bobby McMahon, TJ Brody, Mark Giordano, who is probably going to retire. Let's be honest. William Lagesson, Ilya Samsonov, Martin Jones. Thankfully, though, however, we lose Jake Muzzin, Matt Murray, and John Klingberg are all UFAs, so we lose them off of LTIR. So,
yeah,
good.
I cannot wait to just watch.
It's going to be a really easy off season for the Leafs next year, and I think I don't know if Brad sort of realizes the situation that he's in cap-wise with this team, and sort of how, like, guys like Nicholas Robertson are going to be a really big help in just sort of filling out, you know, your bottom your bottom 6.
Yeah.
Because, like, Fraser Minton is going to age out of juniors for next season. So he will be either with the Marlies or he'll probably be up with the Leafs, considering how he started the season, playing 4 games for them. Easton Cohen is tearing up the OHL right now. The London
What
Knights.
a season he's having.
Point tally is ridiculous. He's having a fantastic season in London right now. So he probably will. I don't know if he will play another season. I have a feeling he's going to follow a very similar track to Mitch Marner in terms of the fact that they're both very similar players, and so probably will come up and join the Leafs. We'll see. Actually, we don't know. We'll see a training camp. That's going to be a huge insight for this team. But, like, you know, those guys who are going to be filling out slots, like Tyler Bertuzzi's role and like Max Domi's role at those, you know, entry-level contract discounts that you get these guys for. You know, I think having Joseph Woll at a lovely, lovely $766,000 contract next year is going to be huge help to your goaltending.
Yeah, because, like,
because that's some pretty reliable goaltending.
If your starting goalie is on, like, that little, you have got room. And you've got, like, you're lucky, and I think
you're lucky.
They're gonna realize how lucky they are when they start actually.
When they have to re-sign, guys like, you know, Matthew Nyes and Joseph Woll, both of their contracts are going to be expiring the same year. What do? You have to re-sign. Like, you can't lose either of them. You're not losing your goaltending development. Also, both of them are RFAs, so you are limited. Like, you know, they are restricted free agents. Like, that limits you.
Yeah, and you're not gonna. You want to keep them. You need to keep them.
Yeah. So it's like, and you're gonna want to keep guys like Simon Benoit, who are going to probably still sign for pretty low. And will be able to, like, give you that physical game and that, you know, reliability to the blue line. Speaking of which, like, you know, game against Seattle, it was pretty physical. Benoit and McCabe both have a very strong game, the two of them. They were on separate lines, though, however. Benoit was down on the third pair with Connor Timmins, and Jake McCabe was playing up on the second with Timothy Liljegren. But both still individually had a pretty good game. Also, as well, Connor Timmins was fined in accordance to the CBA. I don't know where to put this. Hold on. I'm running out of room on my desk. Connor Timmins was fined $2,864.58, the maximum allowable under the CBA for cross-checking Seattle Brandon Tanev. Interesting. I don't really have a problem with the fine and, like, with that. I just wanted, the only thing I'm asking from the NHL is, like, okay, so then it's that every single time. You're going to do it this time. I want you to do it every single time like that. Consistency is what matters. And that's always been an issue with the Department of Player Safety, is the lack of consistency.
Yeah. It's the pick and choose. And I'm like, come on. Like, really?
Also, yeah, like, consistency. Also, as well, while we were talking about contracts and things like that, there was a very interesting article posted by Sportsnet, actually, today or yesterday. The Ryan Reaves, we're going to talk about Ryan Reaves. According to, there was an article mostly about Ryan Reaves, but also just about, you know, some guys who hadn't gotten some playing time, who's been healthy scratched up recently, like Nick Robertson. Jason's his brother. Nick Robertson was mentioned in that article as well, but I don't think he ever provided a comment for it. It was sort of mostly, it felt very much like it came out of, like, the Reaves camp in terms of, like, his agent and sort of trying to stir up, trying to almost force the Leafs' hand a little bit, if we want to get conspiracy about it a little bit. But according to the article, Ryan Reaves stated himself that he is healthy enough to be in the lineup despite still being on Toronto's IR. But then goes on to say that he wears knee braces on both knees, and he's done it long before he acquired his current injury that has kept him out of the lineup, quote unquote. And that he's had loose knees, and that wearing knee braces provides him with the stability that he needs to skate. Not even to play a game, to skate on the ice.
Yeah,
which is concerning.
Worrying.
And yeah, like Sheldon Keefe said that they are. Then Sheldon Keefe goes and says a different thing and says that Ryan Reaves is not healthy enough to return to the lineup, and that is why he's still on IR and has not been, in the lineup. And keep in mind, Ryan Reaves is getting paid $1.135 million for this season, and then for the next 2 seasons after that, because
oh god,
of course. He's also 37 years old. He just turned 37 last week. So I think he's probably forcing the team's hand to play him because, first of all, trade's unlikely just due to the fact of his age and the contract that he's on. No one's going to want that unless the Leafs are willing to, lose, in theoretically, lose the trade. Also, the fact that he was brought on to be sort of that locker room guy in terms of that cheerleader, things like that, maybe perhaps sways a decision and, makes a decision to put him on waivers so that they can, bury his contract with the Marlies, a little bit more unlikely as well. But I do want to say, what sort of message does it send to your locker room and to your team if your locker room guy is in this sort of weird situation right now where he's saying he's healthy enough to play, but the coach is saying he's not healthy enough to play, and he's not playing? That's got to send some sort of message. Yeah. So I just wanted to know, your thoughts on it. I've stated all the facts, but...
Yeah, I read it and I was like, I'm not gonna say I was shocked because something was gonna happen at some point about it. But it's like, I'm not being funny. If your knees are quite literally crumbling every time you skate without knee braces, that doesn't scream I'm healthy enough to play NHL games to me. That screams my knees are... I'm not gonna use my F-bomb. My knee... I'm trying to... Oh no, how do I word it without swearing? My knees are not up to standard. Because it...
Go on.
And it's... If your knees are that messed up, you're not ready. You're not ready to play. You're not well enough to play. You shouldn't be playing, arguably. That's just me. But if my knees were doing that, I would not want to put myself through basically damaging them even further and then making the rest of my life a misery. That's just me, though.
Oh, yeah, as someone with chronic knee issues, because I grew up ski racing and didn't really do anything to take care of my knees, and now, I can't run anymore if I'd like to walk for the next couple of days afterwards. And I've also recently learned as well, I got to be careful when I skate if I'd like to, not be in a whole bunch of pain and things like that. And it really sucks to have to not do anything, but you think about the fact of yeah, I would like to, it's okay, I have to stop rowing now in university, but it's worth it because then I get to still ski and do the things I enjoy more when I'm 35, 40. And I think, it's a thing where Ryan Reaves has kids, you know, it's like, do you want to play hockey now at 37 after a long career, right?
Yeah.
A long, arguably somewhat successful career or do you want to be able to like keep up with your kids?
Yeah, and it's
right?
like,
And not have to.
It's an easy decision for me because it's not as if he's like at the start of his career and it's like promising future. He's got a lot ahead of him. The man is very quickly approaching. He's had a long career. At what point do you just sit back and just think, it's time? Like, I've had my fun. I've had my career. When does it get to a point to just be like, yeah, this is for my own sake now?
Yeah, and also as well, like, this was one of those contract signings that happened during the summer that I think confused everyone. No one really saw the upside to this. Like, I get it. You need some good vibes locker room guys, and you sort of got rid of those when you didn't re-sign Hull and Kerfoot and Bunting. Like, those three guys were huge locker room guys.
Yeah.
Right? And so you try to fill in, you're like, okay, well, bring in Ryan Reaves, who is known to be a locker room guy, and he was a locker room guy, you know, with New York and Minnesota and all the other billion teams he's played for.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, and then this sort of happens. I don't know what kind of effect this has. You know, does it push the Leafs' hand? Will we maybe see Ryan Reaves, you know, in the lineup more frequently? Who knows? The Leafs play 2 more games before the All-Star break. Before they go on their bye week and then the All-Star break. So, who knows?
Yeah.
It's one of those interesting things to keep an eye on. Yeah, with the Leafs.
Because it's like, does he play before? Does Keith just say, okay, maybe we'll bring him back? Or do they give him the extra time to, like, really make sure he's fully healthy? Like, I want to see what happens, because we all know Keith just loves, like, taking our ideas and just going, you know what, I'm going to do the exact opposite. He loves a little surprise.
Also, Keith is known for having his guys, you know, it's something that was really evident last season, and it's sort of him having his guys, you know, affects the way that he goes about managing the team and managing the players and playing them in spots where they should and shouldn't be. So we'll see. Moving on, All-Star game. I feel like every episode we have new All-Star news, but it was announced on Saturday during Saturday's game, actually, that the All-Star game co-captains were announced. So as we probably talked about in the format, there's a player draft this year for the All-Star game, and they announced the team captains, their assistant captains, and the celebrity co-captains that will be taking part in the All-Star game. Just going to read them off. Austin Matthews and Justin Bieber, surprise, surprise, will be teaming up with assistant captain Morgan Rielly. That's a little bit of a shocker one there, is that Morgan Rielly is an assistant captain. Not to say that he doesn't deserve it. It's just you also think about the fact that, like, they didn't pick Marner or Nylander for that. Connor McDavid and Will Arnett with assistant captain Leon Draisaitl. Nathan McKinnon and Tate McRae with assistant captain Cale Makar. And then Quinn Hughes and Michael Bublé with co-captain Jack Hughes.
We have so much to unpack.
There's so much to unpack here. Of course, first of all, poor Morgan Rielly is going to have to third wheel the Austin Matthews, Justin Bieber bromance.
A poor man.
Also, Austin Matthews has said during Sunday's game that he is open to receiving bribes. And then William Nylander, who was also in that little interview, said, "I have offered bribes," which is really funny because I feel like Justin Bieber and Morgan Riley are going to take this really, really seriously. They will have PowerPoints, they will have charts, they will have draft lists. They'll be like, if this is who we're taking, this is our order. And Austin Matthews will be like, screw that. You know,
He's like,
William Nylander has offered to walk my dog for a month.
Yeah, I would like to draft Mitch Marner because he has offered me his wife, his dog, and his car, which I wouldn't put past him.
But also as well, and then to move back down, like Will Arnett is going to be having to use all of his acting chops, all his comedic skills to be able to bring some sort of charisma and some sort of excitement to a dynamic duo that is Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Oh, never know.
Which is so funny because Will Arnett also is a noted Leafs fan. Like, he is very much a Leafs fan. So it's really funny that he's working with also noted childhood Leafs fan Connor McDavid. But will Arnett try and talk Connor McDavid into, if it's possible, drafting Mitch Marner?
I hope. So
I think that personally would be hilarious. Also, let's put that duo back together. They were actually friends. Like, there's so many narratives we could have fun here.
God, do it for narratives.
Yeah, another narrative also as well is, what would Tate McRae and Nathan MacKinnon talk about?
I genuinely, when I saw this, I couldn't stop laughing. Like, I was like, what? What are they going to talk about? What is Nathan MacKinnon going to walk up to it and be like, "Hi, hello, Tate McRae. Can I interest you in an organic quinoa recipe?"
And then Cale Makar's there like, "Heard you're from Calgary. So am I." Because also Cale Makar's there, who's also from Calgary. He's gonna be like, "Heard you're from Calgary. I'm also from Calgary." But congratulations to Tate McRae for making it to the All-Star game before her ex-boyfriend does.
Yeah, good for her.
That's so girl boss of her, honestly. I love that.
Like,
I also think
at this point, I think she might end up just sweeping the NHL awards as well.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I think her NHL. Oh yeah, her NHL red carpet outfit will be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this season alone, she has made Gretzky look like a bust. She's the points she's been putting up.
But I think a lot of people were joking, being like, "Oh, Sidney Crosby's going to be a captain, and then you're going to have Sidney Crosby and Tate McRae interacting." There's still a chance of that because Nathan MacKinnon will choose Sidney Crosby if given the opportunity.
You're not gonna. You never see them apart when they give them the opportunity to be together.
Oh no! He will be first pick.
Yeah,
will be Sidney Crosby. Not that that's a bad pick because Sidney Crosby has been fantastic this season. But it's you will probably still get that Tate McRae Sidney Crosby interaction. Also as well, Quinn Hughes and Michael Bublé with co-captain. Now all the other ones have been assistant captains. This is a co-captain. They gave the Hugh brothers co-captaincies because they knew they couldn't give Jack an assistant captaincy because he will say something about it. He will cause a riot. As someone who has a sister, who grew up, with a sister, there would be fighting.
Yeah, Quinn Hughes
will be like, "You can't tell me what to do. You're not in charge of me."
Quinn Hughes is getting the full eldest daughter experience right now.
Everyone else gets assistant captains. No. Yours is a co-captain. You're a co-captain with your brother. Which is so funny because it's like they didn't even give him a choice. They were like, no, you can't avoid it.
Tough shit. Surprise!
And then Michael Bublé's there.
Michael Bublé is gonna have to witness the most insane sibling fights.
It's fantastic. In some other news as well, Jack Hughes won't skate before the All-Star game via Lindy Russ. So who knows if he'll even actually be at the All-Star game? That was news that came out today where Lindy Ruff was like, Jack won't skate before the All-Star game. Will Jack skate at the All-Star game? Brilliant question that we still don't know the answer to. Also as well, just in terms of some changes to the lineup, Kyle Connor and Vincent Trocheck were announced as replacements for Connor Bedard and Jack Eichel, who will be both missing the All-Star game due to injury, unfortunately. Interesting, that we made that there was such this big deal about picking one player from every team at least, so every team at least gets one representative, and then having the injury replacements not be from that team.
Yeah, that was a choice.
Surely, okay, maybe you couldn't really find someone from Chicago, but you can still try. But I'm very, very surprised you could not find anyone else from this reigning Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
To go to your All-Star game. Surely there's someone who is All-Star worthy who can go. But I guess it's really hard to find people who willingly want to go spend a weekend in Toronto in February when they could be, in Mexico. Kyle Connor makes sense. He's had a pretty great season this year. I would love to know how far your list did you have to go to get Vincent Trocheck? No offense to Vincent Trocheck. I'm just saying, how far down that list of phone calls did you have to go? People saying, no, thank you. I already have plans before you got to Vincent Trocheck.
Gonna have to be.
Because, Zibanejad said no. Chris Kreider said no. Dylan Strome said no. Dylan,
did they go to him before they went to Dylan Strome? The woman of the people. Know.
Because we could have had a wonderful 2015 draft class little reunion there. You could have had the opportunity where Connor McDavid could have drafted Dylan Strome.
Oh God.
Will Arnett would have done it. He understands narrative. He's an actor. He would have understood. He would have gotten it. He would have made sure of it.
Why does the NHL not want to see us happy? Okay.
Yeah. Also as well, can we talk about the jerseys? Okay, the jerseys, they've grown. The front has grown on me.
Yeah, I like the front now.
They're fun. They're very Toronto. They're the sort of ugly that you would only see in Toronto. I can say that as someone from Toronto.
Yeah. No, I like the front, but full offense, I do. I say this out of as a hater. The back looks like something I would make on my year 6 PowerPoint presentation.
MS Paints.
Miserable.
Why are we having Comic Sans on our All-Star jerseys?
Yeah, I am a Comic Sans defender. I am a Comic Sans enthusiast. Not on an All-Stars jersey. No.
Also, why the full lowercase? Also, why the full lowercase for the nameplates? Also, why are the nameplates below the number?
So many choices were made that I just were bad.
Questions. The thing that I would love to know, though, that I would love to know if I could actually get my hands on a physical jersey with a nameplate and everything, is are the nameplates stitched on, or are they screen printed? Which we don't have a jersey here in front of us. We don't I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do that.
We don't have the budget for that.
We don't have the budget for that. But if there's anyone who would like to sponsor the show and maybe provide us with the budget, our email is in the show notes. Send us a little email or DM us on Twitter because, please. Because that's like, anyways. But also I like don't have the budget to buy an All-Star jersey. I've bought 2 jerseys in the past like month.
Yeah.
One of them just came today, actually. It's very, very cool. Probably will end up on my Twitter in like a little bit.
Oh, it will end up on Twitter.
Oh, we'll end up on Twitter. But it's like, why are the name? I'm not a fan of the nameplates being below the number.
No.
Mostly because I know that like William Nylander, he's not the only one doing this, but I'm calling him out specifically because I know he's the one who does it, is going to tuck it into his pants, and you're not going to be able to see the nameplate. I get you're going for something different here. You're going for something fun, but also it's like, this does nothing. This is dumb. This looks stupid. I think the nameplates below numbers looks dumb. Put it
like,
above
maybe
the numbers.
Maybe they did it because they know that people took the jerseys in, so no one has to look at it.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Also, like, why all lowercase?
Like, if it was like Sans in all caps, I can get behind that. I can defend it. It'd look. I wouldn't mind it. But the lowercase. Oh my god. Why? Like, please answer. Why?
I have no idea. No, couldn't tell you. But I will say it doesn't work. I do think like the fronts are fun though. The bright colors are fun. You know, I think also as well, like whenever they announce things like this, it never fully does the jersey justice. Like whenever New Jersey are announced, people are really, really critical until they see them like on an ice on an actual like hockey player with like full gear and like with pants and the socks and the helmet and everything. Because when you see them like just on like a plain white background on a website, they never look good. Every jersey looks bad. And then when you see them in like the photo shoot and the way that they did this for the announcement of them and things like that, they were like on people and they were like doing this like weird photo shoot, and it was like they were on a couch and they were sitting down, so you still couldn't really fully see them because they were all, you know what I mean? It's like when you're trying to buy clothes off of Zara and all the models are in weird poses and you're like, how am I supposed to know like what this is actually going to look like on a normal person going about their normal day? Just me? The Zara model poses, anyone?
Oh god.
So I think, you know, we'll reserve all judgment until we see them on like an actual real NHL player and like on an ice and things like that. But the
front is growing on me. I do.
The front is growing. It's fun. It's very
like
Toronto. It's very Toronto in the way that Toronto, like sometimes Toronto is just so ugly. It's fun. It's like pretty.
Yeah.
Like it's like a bulldog. So ugly, it's cute.
Yeah.
We have some other news in terms of some signing announced today, actually, that Edmonton will signs forward Corey Perry to a 1-year, $775,000 contract with bonuses. The bonus structure is really weird. We're going to talk about that in just a bit. I'm just going to go over it. But Perry was released from the Chicago Blackhawks earlier this season for unacceptable conduct that he did at a team outing in Nashville. Unsure if... So there was actually a press conference today where they very much shut down any sort of discussion about what Corey Perry actually did to warrant his contract to be... for him to be released from his contract and for his contract to essentially be torn up. He said he wasn't going to talk about it. Edmonton said they weren't going to talk about it. But I will say, like, the bonus structure actually has a possibility for Edmonton to go over the cap this season and to inflict cap overage penalties. So this is from Cap Friendly on Twitter, just in terms of they have the full performance bonus package. So he will get a $225,000 performance bonus for 10 games played in the regular season. He will get $50,000 if Edmonton wins the second round of the playoffs and Perry A plays in 50% of round 2 games, or B 50% of the total of round 1 and 2 games, and $50,000 if Edmonton wins the third round of the playoffs and Perry A plays in 50% of round 3 games, or B, 50% of the total round 1, 2, and 3 games. And that $325,000 in performance bonuses could put Edmonton into cap overage penalties for next year.
Yeah, that's a choice.
So, it was also announced, like, to make room for Corey Perry under the cap. Edmonton Oilers placed forward Adam Erne on waivers so that they can actually be under the cap with Corey Perry's contract, because they didn't have room for him otherwise. I think what a lot of people are going to say, because like maybe what he did is inconsequential and is not, unethical or terrible. It was just, maybe it was just a call for help, and he has gotten assistance with drug and alcohol addiction. He has stated that. So maybe like at the end of the day, it's just the Chicago Blackhawks being really, really, I don't want to say stingent, but like strict with this sort of thing in order to avoid a situation like, they're like what the Chicago Blackhawks are now known for in terms of that sort of thing. And so that's why they release him from a contract and whatever. But also at the same time, we don't, and I'm not saying that they should like be like, this is exactly what happened. This is like minute by minute of what happened.
But it's like
also at the same time, it's like you sort of feel uneasy about the signing. Because you don't really know.
When I saw it like happening the last few days, I was sat and I was like, what? Why? I'm not a fan. And
I think also as well, like, we have some bias because as Leafs fans, we don't like Corey Perry. And there's definitely a lot of fan bases of a lot of teams that don't like Corey Perry because of who he is on the ice. But also at the same time, it's like you wonder, like, you don't really know what happened with him in Chicago and why he was let go. And sort of the fact that you don't know kind of like sets you on edge of like, what is Edmonton potentially bringing into a locker room that's doing pretty well right now. Like, they're on a roll.
Yeah.
And they're playing really well. And so you kind of are like a little bit on edge on that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a choice and not one that I was A, expecting, and B, would have made.
I wasn't expecting this from Edmonton, to be honest. Especially just with how they've been recently in their past like 15 games. I feel like, they haven't lost. They haven't lost yet, have they? No. They're still.
Yeah, they're still
on their win streak. So, yeah. Edmonton plays the Blue Jackets tomorrow. So that'll probably be Corey Perry's debut as an Oiler. But also as well, we have a firing to announce.
Yay!
New York Islanders. Lou Lamoriello, the GM. New York Islanders fired head coach Lane Lambert and hired former NHL goaltender and head coach as well, Patrick Roy. He's already made his debut as the head coach of the New York Islanders, winning against the Dallas Stars. And for those who are wondering, yes, he did have to shave to fit in coordination with Lou Lamoriello's whack-ass rules of no facial hair.
It's always tragic to see someone have to do that.
Obviously, also as well, everyone knows Patrick Roy for his career as a goaltender, but also he was the head coach and vice president of hockey ops of the Colorado Avalanche from 2013 to 2016. And then also, this is where I just find this so funny. So as we all know, because we talked about it last episode, Marc-Andre Fleury passed Patrick Roy for second all-time career wins by winning 552. He did it in a shutout against the New York Islanders. New York Islanders then go on to fire their head coach, partly probably because of this awful loss to the Wilds, and hired Patrick Roy as a replacement head coach.
Just quite. It's entertaining.
It's entertaining. It shows you just how almost incestuous the NHL is in terms of personnel. Lou Lamoriello also said in a press conference following the announcement that Roy was who he wanted to fill the role originally. He was who he wanted to fill the role, and he went out and wanted to get Patrick Roy for the head coach position. So we will see how it turns around the rest of the Islanders season. They're not having a great time, but it's still January, and it's still before the All-Star break. There's still time. There is still time. Okay, I know you wanted to talk about the Buffalo Sabres. So I'm gonna let you have the floor.
Sorry, I think that's a great way to lead into it. So it's been a while. Hi guys, I hope you've missed me and my love-hate relationship with the Buffalo Sabres. So on the 20th of January, the Sabres did something that I never thought I'd see, and I was overjoyed when I got the notification that they had recalled Eric Comrie, and they'd sent Devon Levi down to the AHL, which, if anyone knows me or even knows of me,
you follow Marcie on Twitter,
and even if you don't, you'll still have seen it. The amount of time I spend not complaining, because the amount of time I spend complaining about the Buffalo Sabres and their inability to properly develop their goalies. I'm gonna do it. Buffalo Sabres, develop your fucking goalies. Oh my god. So they sent Devon Levi down, and I was like, brilliant. They're fine. Like, he's not had a brilliant last few games. Like, they're gonna send him down. They're gonna give him time to develop and to grow and to work on his game, which is all that anyone wants. And it's all that this was like the first thing I spoke about on the very first episode. And we're still back and forth with it. So I finally
thought... This is episode 18, by the way.
Yep, how bad it's got.
We also, our first episode of the podcast went up on November 20th. It is now the 22nd of January. That's how long we've been talking about this for.
That's how long I've been I have been screaming about it. So I finally thought, oh my god, it's a turning point. It's a miracle. We're finally going to see Devon Levi being given the treatment he deserves. And also, we're finally, rewarding Eric Comrie for being a good goaltender, because he is. He's had a really good run in the AHL. And then, yesterday, I received the notification that I genuinely had to scream. I screamed into my pillow. And I'm going to read it. I'm going to do a dramatic reading of the Sabres PR tweet. The Buffalo Sabres have recalled goaltender Devon Levi. Why? Why? What is the point? Sending him down. One game is not developing your goalies. One game is, oh, we don't really know what to do with him. Like, just shove him over there. One game. Why? Oh my god, why? So I'm mad for Devon Levi, because he's not getting the development he needs, and they're just messing him around at this point. But do you know what I'm more mad about? I'm fuming. I am livid that they're doing this to Eric Comrie, who they called up, and he was like, He was probably thinking, I'm going to get to play again. I'm going to get to show them how much I've changed and developed, and how much his stint in the AHL has like benefited him, because it has. He's on an absolute mad one. But so you've called him up. He's like happy to be there. He's ready to go. And it's like, actually, you know what? No, off you pop, back you go. We don't need you anymore. And it's it genuinely makes me want to cry, because it makes me so mad to like just have to sit back and watch a team completely run all three of the goalies into the ground and not be able to do anything about it. Because like, also, I will say one thing about Luukkonen, and that is, I have not forgotten the things people said about him when he has been such a good goaltender this season. Like, he's really, really good. And it shows now that they're finally giving him more playing time. However, like, everyone, you cannot have a consistent, like, good game every game when you're playing him as much as he's been played recently. Because, again, another thing I complain about, stop overworking your goalies. That's every team as well. And it's just, I see he had one bad game the other day, and the amount of people on Twitter I saw complaining about him, being like, oh yeah, he's just had a good few games and now everyone's acting like he's like the best. He's not had just a few good games. He's had a really good season. And I just think people need to remember that. See, that's my little rant, my little complaint, my little Sabres, please sort yourselves out before I will buy flights. I will fly over and I will like take up. I will invade the Buffalo Sabres organization. And I will sort them out, because it's really annoying me at the moment. But yeah, that's the Buffalo Sabres for you. Hope you enjoyed.
I just sent Marcie a bunch of tweets.
Oh god.
Anyways, there's one where it's anyway. I also did tweet out just now that Igor sharing. The Calgary Flames tweeted out Igor Sharangovich, Lego Master, and I tweeted out someone introduced him to Joseph Wool. I think they'd be great friends.
No.
It is also the Ottawa Senators' mom trip. This kind of road trip. It is also as well at the exact same time the Florida Panthers' dad trip.
Wow.
They're not playing each other, unfortunately. But I think that would be absolutely hilarious if that could line up for next year.
Please.
This is, a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to logistics and hockey ops at the Ottawa Senators and at the Florida Panthers. Hey. Please.
For us.
For us. Because that's it's always a fun game when the Tkachuk brothers play each other. I don't know if you had anything else to say.
No, I've said my piece.
You said your piece. I've said my piece.
We've
another episode. That's how this works. I guess, you know what? With that, it is time. And with that, I think that's it for this episode.
Woo!
Yeah.
Another
one in the books. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of From the Fourth Line. You can find the show on Twitter at From the Fourth Line. You can also find the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow if you don't already follow the show. Give it 5 stars if you haven't already given it 5 stars. And you can follow me and Marcie on Twitter. At Cecilius for Marcie and at Perby1 for myself. Also, as always, all that information is in the show notes of every single episode, so it's not hard to find. And we will see you on Thursday after the Leafs take on the Winnipeg Jets at home on Monday. Not Monday, on Wednesday. That's the wrong day. On Wednesday. I'm looking at the calendar right now. We'll see you on Thursday. We'll see you on Thursday. There's no game tonight. There's no game tomorrow. But yeah, hopefully they do well at home against the Winnipeg Jets, who are red hot right now at the top of the league by points percentage. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm not going to hear the end of this from my dad, am I?
No, you probably aren't. And I feel like Twitter will not hear the end of it from Jesse Pollock.
Oh, God. Every day I'm more and more grateful that I blocked that man a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So with that one, thank you so much for listening. And bye-bye.
Goodbye.